Hey, it's Shakur. I want to ask you an important question. Can you remember what it was that you were thinking about all day long today and all the thoughts that happened inside your head? And if you cannot really think about everything that you thought of today or yesterday, just like you can remember everything that you do, if you're unable to remember the thoughts that you had, then your thought pattern is working at an involuntary mode. It's just working as a function that's not conscious, it's working as a compulsion. And I want to talk about awareness. I want to talk about consciousness and how do you build that consciousness into everything that you do while you drive that consciousness within your thoughts as well. Now, there's a very important fact that we end up missing is that these thoughts that we have and our brain is supposed to be under our control. We always forget that this mind, this brain is just like an organ, like an organ like the heart. So just like the heart, it's supposed to beat all your life long. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about starting it. You don't have to think about stopping it. It's just doing its job as it's pulsing through, as it's beating. Similarly, the mind is just supposed to pop out thoughts no matter what. Like even when you don't think about it, it's just doing its work, following its nature, and it's putting out thoughts. But here's the distinction that you want to understand inside yourself. The distinction is that every thought that comes to your head is not necessarily generated by you. Every voice that you hear inside your head, that's not necessarily you talking to yourself or you giving advice to yourself. Because the brain is just like an organ, just like the eyes, they blink involuntarily. You don't think about it, you don't action on it, you don't try to stop it. They're just doing their job when they're blinking. Just like the heart, as it's beating, it's just doing its job. It's an involuntary function. But similarly, the brain does the same thing. It just pops out thoughts all day long. It's just giving us random thoughts, making us think of different thought patterns, making us think of the past, the future, and just taking you places inside our head all day long. But we fail to understand that that is not necessarily us driving that force. It's become just the function of that organ, and that organ is supposed to give out energy, and that energy is given out as thoughts and thought patterns. And we end up traveling into those thoughts and thought patterns, not even paying attention if those thoughts are going to be useful to us, if those thoughts are adding value to our daily life, or if they're actually bringing us down, bringing our energy down, making us feel sad, making us feel anxious about things. And the biggest reason people suffer from things like anxiety attack or even traverse down the path of depression is just because they forget that the brain is supposed to be a tool that you as consciousness is supposed to use and not the other way around. You're supposed to be master of the brain and not the other way around. What's going to be really important in understanding this is that understanding the idea that the body is not necessarily good or bad. The body is how you plan to use it. And similarly, the mind, it's neither good nor bad. If you learn to gain control over it and you learn to direct it in the directions that you want to pursue, the direction that you want it to think, it's going to be a very useful tool, a very powerful force into creating your own reality, into creating the life that you want. Whereas if you just let it run astray and let it do whatever it wants to do, and the brain involuntarily ends up running you through its compulsions, through its habits, through everything that's in the unconscious, then that happens and your life gets driven by things that you don't even decide. You get anxiety attacks at moments that you don't even understand what's going on. And all of a sudden you start feeling low energy, you start feeling low vibration, you start feeling depressed, whereas you necessarily did not invite that in your life. But you did invite it in a way, in the sense that you let your brain focus on thoughts that were negative. anything that you add awareness to, anything that you add consciousness to, anything that you learn to focus on is going to be the predominant theme in your reality. So the tool to work through this is that the first step is understanding that the brain is just an organ, and all the voices you hear inside your head, that's not necessarily generated by you, and that's not necessarily something that was just meant to be there, like destined to hear this thought and destined to pursue that thought. You have the power to decide that you don't want to pursue certain thoughts. You have the power to decide that what you want to pay attention to, what you want to give focus to, what you want to give the power of your consciousness to. And there's different tools of that. But similarly, when there's a lot of religious sects that talk about name chanting, what essentially name chanting does is that it brings awareness into the moment. It's just a device that brings you to the present moment. If you take away the religious aspect of it, if you take away the deity out of it, think of it as what it does as a device. You say a certain name, and the more you say that name, the more you empower that thought wave. And every time you say that name, you say it consciously, so you're always focused in the awareness of the present moment. Eventually, when you make a certain thought wave powerful enough, then you could be in the middle of a battlefield, you could be in the most stressful situation of your life. All they do is that they say that name and it brings them to the present moment. But you want to see yourself in different situations, right? As you're driving, as you're climbing up the stairs, while you're in the elevator, as you're waiting for a door to open, you're not really there in the present moment. All you're doing while you're driving, climbing up the stairs, working out in the gym is that your mind is constantly traveling into the past, into the future, and into the various thought patterns that you've become accustomed to. You've become so habitual to them that they don't even seem like something unnatural that is happening. And we've developed this habit from childhood not to actually live in the present moment, but to just, constantly travel through this mind to the present, to the past, make weird scenarios inside our head that might affect us negatively. But you want to learn to build awareness and consciousness, and do everything that you do it in a conscious manner and bring your awareness to the present moment. So say you're working out, and instead of just going down your thought patterns or starting to think about the past or any future hope, aspirations that you have, when you do that name chanting, it all of a sudden puts you up in the present moment, because you're now consciously directing the thoughts. You're consciously trying to focus on the present moment, and that builds awareness within the present moment. And if you're someone, who's like this religious aspect of name chanting does not work for you, then the easiest tool that, a lot of other sects such as Buddhism and a lot of yogic sects developed was to focus on the breath. Because the breath is always in the present moment. But you have to understand, the breath is also just a device. It's just a device of, paying attention to something that's going to keep you in the present moment. Because all of the bliss, all of the fun, all of the amazing ideas, creativity that you can have, they do exist within the present moment. And the more you can learn to build your awareness to stay in the present moment, the more freed up you become, the more energy you start to have. And that frees you up to do a lot of things and pursue the bigger goals that you have in life. If you just stop, or in a way, learn how to curtail your mind from traveling into weird past situations, remembering events from the past, or just making hypothetical scenarios about the future, you're going to save a lot of your energy. And the more thought energy you can conserve, the more you can learn to direct it behind a particular idea, thought that you truly want to bring true in your life. The more awareness and focus you add to a particular thought idea, you would bring it true in your life. You want to understand it like this. Say we all have $1,000 to spend, and that is our thought energy. Now it's totally your choice how you want to spend those $1,000. Anytime you start thinking about the past, and say you spend half of your day thinking about this past, you just spend $500 on nothing. Nothing's going to come out of that. Nothing productive is coming out of that. You just wasted a lot of your energy that you could have utilized. You could have utilized those $500 into buying something that you truly wanted, into investing that money that was actually going to grow for you. So when you understand your thought energy in a monetary term, you wanna be very careful. You wanna be very smart about how you wanna spend that thought energy and what device works for you to bring you in the present moment. There's a lot of ways, a lot of methods, and a lot of devices that bring you awareness in the present moment, that keep you in the present moment. And anything that works for you, you might want to try it, because being in the present moment is going to absolutely change your mind. It's going to absolutely change your life. And that is a habit that if you learn how to develop, you will find a certain pleasure that exists in life that you've never been accustomed to. And you will learn to live life in a way that it's truly meant to be lived. So I hope this video gives you some food for thought, and you at least learn how to monitor your thoughts and bring awareness to your ideas and bring awareness to the thought patterns and learn to think in a conscious manner.